everybody, Moarhammer here. I've got another battle report for you. This is another pretty brutal one with my Khorne against Stormcast Eternals. So we are playing 100 pools of South Coast GT comp, and I'll get straight into it right after the army breakdown. So, here's a bit of deployment, and as you can see, he's bunkered up quite nicely in the middle there. So, on my side, however, starting on the far left, I've got a unit of 10 Skull Reapers. They're the guys with the Demon Blades, and in their units, a Skull Grinder. Then I've got a unit of 20 Bloodletters. Just to the left is a Herald of Korn as well. Then behind that big rock in the centre, I've got my Bloodstoker, and just to the right of it, I've got a Bloodsecrator, 10 Fleshhounds, and my Bloodthirster. Just to the right of them, we've got a Slaughter Priest, who's new. Then I've got 10 Skull Reapers, and they're the guys with the Gore Slick Blades, and there's a Skull Grinder in with them as well. Just to the right of them, I've got an Exalted Deathbringer and 10 Marauders. Then on his side, starting on the left, he's got a Dracothian Guard, one of the Tempesters. And he's got his Star Drake slap bang in the centre there, in front of which are his unit of 20 Great Swords with Empire General. Then behind them, he's got a unit of 10 Liberators, a Wizard, who I believe he's using Shadow as the Wizard, and he's also got a Lord Celestant in there as well. Oh, should mention the Star Drake today. He's proxying it slightly as a Lord Celestant on Star Drake, so the big version, rather than just the normal Drake Sworn Templar, or whatever they're called. Then to the right of the Liberators, he's got a unit of 5 Retributors, in front of which is another Tempester, then 3 Prosecutors, and 5 Judicators to the right-hand side. So there's his army, pretty beefy, but I've got the numbers on my side. Now I was hoping that with him in the centre of that, I can just wrap around and smash him to pieces. That was my kind of plan, I guess. So because he's got so many less units than me, he finished deploying first, and he did and ah for quite some time about whether or not he should go first. He ended up deciding to go first because he was hoping to assassinate a few of my bits and pieces. Like, he wanted to get rid of the Bloodsecrator, so he was just going to try and get rid of a couple of things as much as he could. So, he moves forward like this. As you can see, one of his Tempesters on the left-hand side runs all the way across there to kind of help just some support against the wrapping around. His Prosecutors jump into that forest in the middle, and the Adjudicators move forward a little bit just to get the range they want. I think they were aiming, at the moment at least, for the Slaughter Priest. Other than that, not a whole lot. There's a bit of bunkering up, the Great Swords kind of moving together, the Liberators around them, the Dragon doesn't really move anywhere, and the Retributors stay on where they are on that hill. So quite a defensive movement, apart from a few assassin-type units. So, I think he also cast Mystic Shield on the Prosecutors, so when they're in that piece of terrain, they've got a 2-up save, so that's pretty nice. Rerolling ones, because they've got shields too, so that's pretty nice. So he throws some spears in the shooting phase. He throws 3 javelins at the Bloodsecrator and puts 4 wounds onto him. Doesn't quite kill him, which is fantastic, so he's only got 1 wound left, but he's not dead, and that's ideal. Unfortunately, the Judicators were just out of range. They end up popping some shots into the Slaughter Priest and blink a wound off. So not too bad. I can live with that. That is the end of his turn, however. So we go into my turn, and there's some stuff that happens. My Bloodthirster uses his command ability on the Fleshhounds to make them be able to run and charge, and add +1 to both of those things. The Bloodstoker whips the Fleshhounds into a frenzy, and they charge off straight towards the Judicators, hoping to get rid of those because those guys are going to be such a pain in the arse. Hate shooting. Other than that, the Slaughter Priest uses that weird "get over here" spell, or whatever it's called, can't remember, against the Prosecutors. Managed to do that, and they end up running straight towards the Skull Reapers that were there. So that's why they're no longer in the terrain. I also run my Bloodthirster up kind of next to them with the idea that he was as far forward as possible, but I was going to shoot the Judicates with him to try and knock off a couple of wounds, and then I was going to slam all of those Skull Reapers into them because I think they'd have an alright job at dealing with those guys. I did also plant my banner from the Blood Secretor. Didn't see any point in moving him up because he's probably going to die soon anyway, and I thought I'd get the extra bonus attacks from a couple of things I might need it. Other than that, not a whole lot happens of note. Everything just pushes forward. In the shooting phase, the only bit of shooting I have is my Bloodthirster's Blood Flail whip thing, and he slams it into the Judicators, so the Prosecutors, and bam, takes them all off. Which is outstanding. While I'm unwounded, I have a total damage of 6, which is they've got 6 wounds between them, so just takes the entire unit off, which is fantastic. So that being all the shooting I've got, we go to the charge phase, and the Flesh Hounds, given that they've got +4 to their charge roll, and they can re-roll it if they want because they're Flesh Hounds, they have no problem slamming into the Judicators and getting a good meal out of it. So I attack with them first as the only combat and bring down 3 Judicators, which is fantastic. Exactly what I wanted. When he attacks back, he does end up killing, I think he puts a wound on a Flesh Hound, but then he manages to roll a 5 or a 6 for his Battle Shock and he disappears. So those guys are now out of the way, and in one turn I've managed to get rid of almost all his shooting. The Tempester does, however, pile in because he was just about in range 2, and he does pretty well. He's able to kill 2 whole Flesh Hounds, and the Great Swords also come in and attack, and they help to kill these as well. So they do actually do a bit of extra damage on these Flesh Hounds to try and take them off. So there is that. But with that being said and done, we go to the initiative roll-off, and I win it. But I give it to him again. Why? Because I just don't need it here. It's not hugely beneficial for me. And if I take it here, I pile in a bunch of stuff into his army, and then I'm a sitting duck if he gets then a double turn. So, I'd just have Retributors all off my grill, and I don't. So yeah, I let him have the double turn or the next turn because I simply don't need it. So this is what he does. His Tempesta comes forward and shoots the blood. The Tempesta comes forward. The Celestant on the Stardrake pushes forward as well to try and deal with some stuff. I think he does try to cast Mystic Shield on it, but I'm able to dispel it with my Flesh Hounds, which is perfect. Other than that, he kind of just keeps up his big bulk of a Stormcast brick with the Great Swords in the front. So yeah. In the shooting phase, he does shoot a couple of things with his Tempesters. He suppresses the Bloodletters, I believe, and he shoots maybe the Marauders, or maybe the Flesh Hounds, just to make them a bit worse. The Stardrake does use the Rain of Stars thing again, but actually does some stuff this time. I think he puts some wounds on the Herald. I think he maybe wounded the Bloodthirster, and maybe even the Slaughter Priest. So yeah, just a couple of wounds here and there, which is great. But then he goes into combat. He smashes the Stardrake straight into the Bloodletters, which is exactly where he wanted him. Attacks there first and does pretty damn well. He's able to kill 8 or 9 Bloodletters, maybe even 10. So yeah, does pretty well. Manages to cut down a whole bunch of them. So I attack next with my Flesh Hounds. 3 of them go off to fight the Greatsword and 2 go off to fight the Tempesta. Don't do very well. And then when he piles in to attack back, he attacks with the Greatsword and smashes 3 of the Flesh Hounds to death. And that's pretty scary. So then we go over here and I pile in with my Bloodletters, and I'm able to put 4 wounds onto the Stardrake. So both my Herald and the Bloodletters can pile in essentially at the same time because of the Herald's ability. If I select him to pile in, then he can select another unit of Bloodletters within 8 inches to pile in too. That's exactly what I do. So that was pretty alright. I'm okay to take a sixth of his wounds off. Oh, sorry, a quarter of his wounds off. Yeah, not bad. So, with that being the end of his turn, we go into my turn, and I do some things. I end up using the Bloodthirster's command ability on himself, and I end up whipping the Bloodthirster too. Not so much because I needed the distance or the anything, but so I just get the rerolls to 1 of a wound. Because I know if I go into that Stardrake with my Bloodthirster, that's what I was planning to do. I'm hitting on 3s with the reroll because he's a hero and a monster, and I'm wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s from the whip. So I've got a pretty good chance of killing him. I'm also going to get +1 attack from the Blood Secretor. That was my plan. Other than that, I just push everything else forward. The Skull Reapers and Marauders on the right-hand side push forward. The Flesh Hounds that were in combat with the Tempesta flee, and run around right at the back there. You can just see them running around the back there. Just because it's a bit of a nuisance for him, he's going to have to put some stuff into getting rid of them. Otherwise, they're just going to end up, hopefully, chewing up his wizard, which would be perfect. So, with that one being all my movement, we go to the shooting phase, and my Bloodthirster uses his big old whip and smashes it into the Stardrake again, takes another 6 wounds off him, and I think he also uses his Hellfire Breath to take a wound off, so I managed to put 7 wounds on that guy, so he's now got 11 wounds on him, so it's pretty good. Only 5 left? 16 altogether, I think, yeah, 5 left. Maths, yay! So, that's all the shooting I have, because I'm Khorne, and I smash straight into the Stardrake, and boom! Nothing he could have done there. Like I said, he only had 5 wounds left. I had 7 attacks, hitting on 3s with the reroll, wounding on 2s with the reroll, 2 rend, D3 damage, and plenty of wounds. I basically hit and wounded with everything. It wasn't a whole lot you could do, so that was fantastic. Quite happy to be rid of that Stardrake. And that is actually the only combat that was going on now after I fled with my Fleshhounds. So we go into his turn. Or the initiative roll, of which he won and took it. So, he pushes forward a bit aggressively now. He's kind of, I think he was going for a bit broke here now, so he pushes his Greatsword and Retributors towards the Skull Reapers, and his big unit of Liberators on the sort of further left-hand side towards the Bloodthirster to try and take him out. He does shoot a couple of things in the shooting phase. His Tempesters kind of shoot at the Skull Reapers and Bloodthirster respectively, just to try and take it down so they're not hitting on quite as good. So we go into the charge phase, with that being all his shooting, and his Greatsword slam into the Skull Reapers over here. And I was not too worried about that. I know he'd go, kill a bunch, and then I'd hopefully just murder him in his face. And then over here, his Greatsword Champion and Tempester, not the Greatsword Champion, the Empire General, and the Tempester slam into the Marauders. And that's probably going to hurt, because they're Marauders. So, he decides to pile in with his Greatswords first, piles in and kills 3 Skull Reapers, which is pretty good going. I think I do a couple of mortal wounds back, but nothing too significant. Then I pile in with my Marauders over here, just try and attack them down, and I end up putting 1 wound onto the Tempester and 3 wounds onto the Empire General, which wasn't too bad at all. I was quite happy about that. And then he attacks back with his General and is able to kill 3 Marauders, which is not too bad going. And then I pile in with my Skull Reapers against the Greatswords, and I slaughter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them, 13 of them. Oh, a boatload just get massacred by angry Korn Man. So, yeah, that was pretty good going. And in Retribution there, he attacks with his Tempester and is able to kill another 6 or 7 Marauders. So, yeah, their numbers are going down pretty fast. And then I managed to pile in my Skull Grinder over here into the Greatswords, and with his big old Hammer Flail, kills the remaining 2. Which is pretty good going. And with that being the only combat, we go into the Battle Shock phase, and my Marauders almost all run away. There's only 2 of them left now. So they didn't do too well. But so well. So, yeah. Then we go into my turn again, and I push some stuff around. I whip and use my command ability on the Bloodletters, I believe, or myself, or the Bloodthirster himself. I can't remember which. But it doesn't make too much of a difference, to be honest. Then my Skull Reapers push forward towards the Retributors. And I was hoping to get the Skull Grinder into his Empire General, because if the Skull Grinder can kill a hero, he can bless the Skull Reapers nearby, making them absolutely lethal. That was kind of my hope. So other than that, we go in. That's basically all the movement that happens. We go into the shooting phase. My Bloodthirster brings up his whip once again and smashes the Lord Celestant in his face, killing him too. Which is pretty good going. Quite happy about that. So we go into the charge phase. The Skull Grinder goes into the Empire General. The Bloodthirster and Skull Reapers go into the Retributors. My Bloodletters go into the Liberators with the Herald of Korn. And you can see at the top right-hand corner there, my Fleshhounds go into the back of the Wizard to have a good nom on him. So I decided to go first with my Bloodthirster, I believe, and I'm able to kill a single Retributor. I don't do too well, but I live with that. I've still got plenty of leeway here to do damage. So he attacks straight back with them before the Skull Reapers can do their damage. And I'm able to put 2 wounds onto the Bloodthirster. He does roll really poorly here. So I attack next with my Bloodletters, and they do amazingly well. I was just in range of the Bloodsecrator to get the +1 attack, and my Herald piles in, follows up all the Bloodletters, and I just massacre 6 Liberators. It was brutal. I just roll out of the box on the number of 6s for mortal wounds. I think I roll 7 or 8 natural 6s just in there, so it was really, really nasty. But also fun. Then I attack over here with my Skull Grinder, and I'm able to kill the Empire General with pretty big ease. And I was in range to bless myself, the Marauders, the Exalted Deathbringer, and the Skull Reapers. So when they attack now, they should be pretty nasty. And that's exactly what I do. The Skull Reapers attack next, and I'm able to kill the remaining 4 Retributors with pretty big ease, just because I get so many attacks with rerolls, and it was brutal. It was brutal. So with that happening, my opponent does concede right there. He's lost almost all of his Stormcast in one turn. That was just brutal. I was rolling out of the box. Nothing I could do. I don't feel too bad about it though. So that's the end of the game. It was another victory for the Legions of Khorne. Very fun game. It's a very tough army to think about facing the Stormcast. But fortunately, my Korn just really got the upper hand early and really managed to get lucky where I needed to be lucky. So that was fantastic. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you very much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up or a comment in the video if you liked watching these battle reports. Please subscribe or follow me on Twitter @MoreWarGames. So thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you again soon.